Hello, everybody. We are gonna go live with Joan Pierre. Just now you're seeing her on screen, and now you don't. You're just gonna see me for a hot minute. I am Nicole Waldron, and we're gonna go live. And I'm gonna set up my social media pages as we do this, because we want to make sure that we are streaming everywhere, you know? This is your time that you can share with your friends and family. Joan can share with her friends and family. Create your own little watch party, because today it's about the phenomenal Joan Pierre that I am having a conversation with. She is an icon. And right now, the music you're hearing is by her husband's band, Calabash. Mr. Anthony Pierre's music here, with the featured instrument is the steel pan. On the steel pan right now is Darren Shepherd. We love Calabash. You know what? And if you're getting ready for Christmas, you want to get this album. You want to get all their albums because it's a great Christmas gift. It sure is. Lots of great music. Lots of great music on this album. Now, this is going to be an interesting conversation because I'm going to be with my friend of over, oh my God, a long time. Have you ever had one of those friends that you've had thousands of conversations with? Today, it's going to be like that. Thousands of conversations we've had. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall for some of the conversations we've had? Making sure that you can see this on my page. I am hoping you can see this on my page. Gonna make sure that it is public for everybody to see on my page. Because if not, they can't see. So come on in, everybody. We want to make sure Joan has a really good welcome today on the show. So how do you introduce this person? I don't know, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try my best to introduce her in a hot minute. I'm going to take down the music so you can hear a little more. Even though I love Calabash, I can listen to them all night. Get your drinks ready. I am Nicole Waldron, your host, AKA Victory. Victory Speaks. You know what? My name means victory of the people. Bet you didn't know that, did you? And you know what? We've had many conversations in our lives. And I know I've had, and how about you? Some of them good, some of them funny, some of them sometimes not so good. We've had, and in this time of COVID, we're having all sorts of conversations. And then we have having conversations about stuff happening in the US, and there's COVID. Oh my God, lots of conversations. But I want to focus in on inspired conversation, conversations that lift you up and build you up, conversations that take you to the next level in who you are and enhance your life. So hence I started this podcast, and I hope you like it. So on tonight, I'm starting this new series. I've been thinking about the many men and women in my life. And I have not always had friends that are my age group. It's an interesting phenomenon. Joan is how many years my senior? Oh my God, I don't even know. We'd have to do the math when she comes on. But I found that, you know, we are losing so many of our trailblazers, our icons, and we tend to honor them when they're gone. And I decided, nope, I want to honor our trailblazers now, our icons now when they're still with us. I want to have those inspired conversations. And so I'm kicking off this series with one of the icons in my life, Mrs. Joan Pierre. Now, Joan, for many of you who don't know her, is multifaceted. She is a consultant. She is a teacher. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a sister. She's a friend. Joan has played a leadership role in design, in planning, in implementation of events such as Caribana, the African Canadian Heritage Music Festival in New Orleans. She's been at the University of Toronto, the faculty there. Joan also curated the Cuttin style fashion show for Panamania. She was amazing with Don Shipley doing that. And along with Joan's expertise in event planning and coordination, she has also had the honor of being a presenter at lots of seminars across the world and in Canada, in the British Columbia, Los Angeles, Winnipeg. The woman is just, you can tell, she just received a Lifetime Achievement Award. You wonder why. She's been profiled in the Who's Who in Black Canada. She's been in some writings of Politics of the Street. That was featured in England, London, England in 1991. She was featured on Essence magazine, y'all. And if you don't know, Joan is a great cook. And one of the reasons you know that is Cuisine Noire, which is a fantabulous magazine. If you haven't heard about them, they featured Joan in their magazine a few years ago. And Joan is going to have to tell us about that experience. And Joan has been a consultant with How She Hustles with Emily Mills. And just so congratulations to Joan, who just actually received her Lifetime Achievement Award. So ladies and gentlemen, this woman here, the icon, I'm about to bring her on, Mrs. Joan Pierre. I wish I could say your name with such pomp and circumstance like your husband. Have that baritone voice. Hey, Joan.
Hi, Nicole.
I need to have like a round of applause for you being on my show. I've been begging for this for a long time, people. Begging, asking, pleading. And she's here. Welcome to Victory Speaks, Joan Pierre.
Thank you, Nicole. You finally got me.
I wonder why, but I'm just so glad. I don't care. I'm just glad you're here. So how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm cool. I'm all right.
So people like you guys are going to get into the inner sanctuary of Joan Pierre and myself. We have known, I met Joan when I was 19. And I'm now going on 52. Do the math yourself. We'll tell you how we met somewhere in part of this conversation. And we talk basically almost every day. So we have all sorts of conversations. We have long conversations and short conversations, funny conversations. We've learned how to agree to disagree and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. So I want you all to get to know Joan. In some ways, that's how I've gotten to know her, and learn some great things about her, an icon in our community. So Joan, you grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, the Twin Isles. What was that like? What was that like growing up in Trinidad?
It was wonderful. I mean, I loved my homeland. I still do. Being in a big family, I'm the first of 10 children. And that alone is an experience that you have to live it to know it. You actually, as the first girl, the first child, you're more or less a mom very quickly. By age 10, age 12, you're a second mom to the amount of kids that are around. Your mom had to teach me so much at a very young age so that I can help her when I come in from school to help with the children. It was just a constant movement of things to be done, and you just had to do them. And I guess maybe it's all of that why I am the type of planner I am today. Because you had to plan your time to do the things you had to do to help your mom. And at the same time, I had to plan to do the things for myself, to be able to accomplish my schoolwork or whatever I was into at the time. It is all a planning. And I guess I can see why I am the way I am today.
So you are the first of 10 Oh my God. Every time I think about that. What were some of the challenges as the oldest and the eldest? Some will say oldest, some will say eldest. I will go, I'm just letting you people know now. I'm going to go in and out of the Trinidadian accent today. Joan probably would stay on point, but I will kind of go in and out. What was it like being the eldest of 10 children?
You had a lot of responsibilities. And the thing about it that was tough, I find, I could not do anything wrong because my dad particularly would say, I'm setting a bad example for the rest. So I had to be on point all the time. And anytime I did something wrong, it was really major, you know, in the eyes of everybody else. So he kept the pressure on me to not break rules, which I did.
We're gonna have to find out. So which rule you broke, Joan? Which rule? Which
Oh,
what?
I broke rules. Like, I mean, it had times you had to be home by 6 and then I arrive at 7, and that's trouble. What my dad used to do, he will add up all the things I did wrong, whether it's big or small. He will add them all up and just wait for when he can punish me for all the things I did wrong. And the worst one I would tell you that I experienced was a carnival. And that I'm 18 at this point. I'm
Right.
not a kid anymore, I'm 18. And he just took the whole year of things, you know, that I did wrong like the year before into Carnival. And he said nothing to me until Carnival Friday. I went to, you know, shows before that and enjoyed my build up to Carnival because I loved my mass. I loved playing and stuff like that. And on the Friday, he said to me, you're not leaving the house today and you're not getting out of this house till Wednesday.
Oh gosh.
Grounded for Carnival. And I went like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm grounded? He said, you're not leaving the house. You're staying in for the weekend based on all the things you did wrong for the last year. And I had to stay in from the Friday, and he made sure he did not leave the house. Because if he did, I would slip out for sure.
Gone. You gone.
But he did not leave the house. He stayed in. And the the one thing is my best friend in Trinidad, which is Doreen Sosa Saini, she knew how I love my carnival, but she was never into carnival. And she came over and spent most of the time with me at my house. We are like 4 houses apart from each other. We grew up together from small. And she came over with books and whatever, games, and she spent the entire time with me to keep me company because she knew I would go crazy, locked into the house and could not leave. Everybody else was leaving to go wherever they wanted to go except me. That was my father punishing me for all the things I did for practically a year. That was his way of getting back at me. And he did. It really hurt. It really hurt. But at the same time, it's not that after that happened, I was going to be on the straight and narrow. I would still do things wrong.
That's the funny part. People will look at you and know the straight Joan and the woman who is organized, and those of us who know there's this little cheeky side of Joan, this little sneaky side of Joan, and it's kind of let's rephrase that. Let's use some Nicholisms. Oh, go I'll find a new word, Nicholisms. Let's use some Nicholisms tonight. That is a creative side of Joan. It wasn't sneaky. It was Joan pulling out her creative side. that
Maybe, maybe you have to say that was the creative side of me then, because I became creative to get out of the house. And part of it was coming to Canada. That is what made me decide I had to leave that house. Most young ladies at that time, let's say I'm going into 19, 20, 21, in Trinidad, you can't leave your house and say you're going to get an apartment somewhere, because I'm working at this point. And you can't do that. You could do that in North America in those days and now, but not in the time that I grew up, in the 50s, 60s and stuff. You just did not do something like that. Leave the house and find an apartment. No, you're a bad girl when you did that. So my avenue was leave the country. And that's how I started planning to come to Canada, because that was my escape, to get out of in having to be perfect, which I'm not, and also being that second mom. And I couldn't find who I was. I felt I was just working a job and making some money and helping the family and stuff like that, but not finding what I really wanted to do with my life. So those two things came together and I fled.
Listen, Gloria laughing on the line here. People caring and saying, y'all show us Joan some love with some hearts and stuff. Joan, I know this part of you, but for those of you, Joan, you didn't just leave your mother house and your father house. You didn't move somewhere. You leave the country to avoid.
Yeah, I jumped ship. I came right out to North America. I don't know what I was coming into. I had family here, which was easy for them to help me to get here, and I didn't know what Canada was really all about, very little. But my family was here, they were doing well. And I said, well, if they can do good, I can do well too. And I just packed up, and my father did not like it. When I announced that I was going, he was not really happy because I was really a source of great help at home,
Yeah.
And he figured that I'm pulling away and he would lose a certain amount of support from me. And I went like, no, I've got to go. I've got to go. And he eventually came around and supported me when I was leaving and gave me some serious dollars to put in my pocket to know that I have money to do things when I get here. And he was very supportive after that. He admired the strength I had to leave and then come and made sure I did well to make him proud. So all in all, he was happy in the end.
So the independence. So, I guess taking care of 10, 9 siblings, because you're the oldest of 10, you kind of built up some resilience and I guess entrepreneurial skills. Because when did you start working though? Because you had to have saved some money to do what you was doing, Joan.
Well, actually, I was working, but I was helping at home financially as well. And when I decided to move to Canada, I just announced to my dad that as of this month, you're not getting any more money.
Wait, because so you had to give your dad money when you were
Yeah,
working.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, to help out. Yeah, sure. But when I decided to move, I just said, as of this month, you're not getting a penny from me. I'm saving my money because I'm going to Canada. So I started saving my own money.
Okay, I confused a little bit. How you stand up to your Trinidadian father
Mhm.
and tell him you ain't getting any more money because what gave you that courage, that boldness?
Well, you know the saying, when you cross 21, you could get bold? When you're 16, 17, 18, 19, you better say nothing because you might get in serious trouble. But because I was crossed 21, I was 23 at the time, I figured I'm old enough to say what I want to say. I'm old enough to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just did it.
Okay, all right. So what your mom said about all of this?
Mom was okay with it. She knew I wanted to find who I was. So mom was comfortable with the fact that I wanted to go to North America to see and figure out my life. So she was really comfortable. Mom was never disappointed or shocked, or no, she accepted it when I told her. She knew first before that.
So what was your favorite thing about growing up in Trinidad? Or a couple of your favorite things about growing up in Trinidad?
Well, being the first, we always, as a big family, we always had things we did together.
Mm.
And of course, the beach was my big thing. On weekends, we had to go to the beach.
Wait, hold on. And still is. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, always. So it was always I'm helping dad, and we had to have, by that time, it was 2 cars around. I got my license, so I can drive, and I will help the family just get to the beach on weekends. And family get together was always big because there's so many of us. It was always a big group of people. And when you bring your friends in for birthday parties and things like that. I also had friends who enjoy riding. So on Saturday afternoon, I had this one friend, Janice, and we'll go riding on Saturday afternoons. I'll take off at 1 o'clock and come back around 5. And then we just went riding because I love to ride.
And so, you know, to those listening here on the live or on the replay, this is me interviewing the icon Joan Pierre, a trailblazer in our time in this new series here. And welcome to the show. So I am here trying to figure out. I think this will be the easiest and the hardest interview that I have done, because I know so much of June and I'm trying to say, okay, what to say and what not to say. Yes, I'm going to keep it real here. So I'm thinking, as you're talking about Trinidad, what is one thing that I want to see if you're going to call it out? What is one thing, and Facebook family, and if you know, if you're watching on the replay, that Joan did in Trinidad that most of you don't know, and some of you know, that she's very good at doing all the time, but she was really unique at doing it in Trinidad. Joan frowning, and it's something I can't do.
Okay, race car driving.
Yes.
It's something I mean, I still love driving today. It's something I really, really, really love to do. I'll take any long journey anywhere and just drive. And back home, they had these Asian guys from San Fernando who had this racing car club. So I hung out with them and we'd go to Wallerfield and we'll drag race. So I used to drag race on weekends sometimes with them. And Dad used to say to me, one of these days, I just have to prepare the coffin for you because you figure I'll crash or something. And I went like, no, I'm fine. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing some drag racing while I was back home. It's
Look at
one of
you.
my sports.
The fact that you say that in a serious face is ridiculous right now. Because people are just blowing up like, what? Yes. And sorry, I will tell you that the person I feel safest with in a car is Joan Pierre. I've driven with her for a very long time, and no pun on anybody else. I don't know who else out there could drive good, but sorry, you have to take a back seat to that one. So your love of fashion. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I try and dress up a little bit. I put on a little Caribbean colors and thing, trying to, you know, because it's Joan Pierre interviewing. And when Joan comes out, whether she going to the grocery, whether she going to pump gas, whether she going wherever, Joan always looks supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. So I didn't know how to come on here, how to dress tonight, what to do. I put my hair back. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want my hair messy. It was kind of stressful. But Joan, your love of fashion, where did that come from?
It really came from my mom. Growing up, it was watching my mom get ready to go out with my dad. They used to party a lot.
What?
Yeah, my parents used to party a lot. They party so much that sometimes they have competitions and they'll come home with some little trophy of some kind, winning the best whatever. So they used to party a lot. And of course, during the oldest, I could stay with the kids. I could look after the children. Didn't have to get a babysitter. I was right there. But my mom really she always looked so put together. Everything matching, shoe, the dress, the earrings. I just learned it from mom. And all my sisters did the same basically. We followed our mom in terms of our style. And when you step out, you must look good no matter where you're going. And when I got older, my shoe size is the same as hers. So I used to steal her shoes and go to parties. So after a while, of course, I'm dancing in her nice shoes. It will fit into the shape of my foot, not hers. So after a while, she'd go to put on the shoe and she went like, Joan, have you been wearing my shoes? Yes, mom.
And you get the
But she
shoes.
had the nicest, I mean, the lovely, lovely shoes. Very low heel, but nice that I, in a teenager, 19, 20, I could wear them. But my style came from my mom. Really, it was her. And the thing is, she got it from her aunt. Because I asked her, Mom, where you get all this style conscious color combination stuff from? She used to watch her aunt walk up the street because she lost her mom at age 9. So
Wow.
she grew up with her family. And this aunt that she was living with, she would watch her coming from work. And she said Aunt Grace was always, always well put together. So she got it from her aunt. She kept held on to it. And then we just looked at her, and that's how we are. When we step out, no matter where we are going, you gotta look good.
So you got some fashion from your mom. What else did you get from your mom that that is that has
I
made
got cooking. I love to cook. Um, it's strange enough, the baking side of me is my dad. But the
oh really?
cooking, yes, the baking side of me is my dad. Dad built people in the Caribbean, most likely would know about that outside oven.
Yeah.
You build that clay oven. We had one.
Okay.
Dad had a clay oven. He will make homemade bread. And you can't wait for this bread to come out of that oven because it's the best bread on the planet, you know? And so he loved baking. Whereas mom, of course, the cook. And she's a great cook. At one point, Daddy had a catering for the bank employees. They will come for their lunch, and mommy packaged lunch boxes for them. She just enjoyed cooking, and I got that from her. Well, obviously, I had to learn because I was helping,
Yeah.
always helping with the family meals. But the thing about it is, I grew up learning to cook weekend food because
What is
I'm not there in the week.
now? Remember, not everybody, because everybody weekend food. You know, it's interesting because you're Trinidadian, but yet the Jamaicans claim you, the Bajans claim. Everybody want to claim you. But what is weekend food for the Canadians?
Okay, weekend food will be on the Saturday. It will be most likely soup or all the leftovers in the week that you have. You take it and you make a meal with it. But the Sunday meal was the Sunday meal. You must make the stew chicken, the peas, stew peas, your rice, your provisions, as we call them, your cassava and your sweet potato and your dasheen and all of that, and your green bananas. You have to have all of that. Then you'll have macaroni pie, and you must have your callaloo. Now, that is your Sunday meal. And so I knew how to cook that, hands down. So I came to Canada, and I don't know how to cook food in the week. I didn't know how to do like a string beans or cook up some vegetables. I hadn't a clue how to do that. So I used to call home and ask mom how to do all of those things when I first came in. Mom, how do you do this? Because I really knew to cook weekend food and not everyday food for you to eat.
And so this
That's where my food stuff comes from.
food stuff come from. So now bear with me, people, because Joan's life is a plethora of stuff. So we're going to jump. We're not going to go in specific order here. So is that how you got into Cuisine Noir magazine? Like, how did you get into Cuisine Noir magazine? I mean, it's such a...
Well, I think I'm not sure. It's just who it was. Dr. Phil. No, Dr. Vibe. Why did I say Dr. Phil? Dr. Vibe. He was the one who was just chatting with me together with you at some point and realized, of course, I love to cook and recommended me to those guys. And that's how the story came out.
And it's funny that she remembered you, because I remember talking to her the other day and she said, Joan Pierre, yes. And you know what? One of the things I remember about your cooking is when you also got featured at Harbourfront. What, you remember the unique dish you made at Harbourfront?
Most people don't know what we call a curry pilau because everybody just know the regular pilau as a Trinidadian, or rice and peas, or just the chicken with the rice alone, or
Yeah.
you put peas in it if you feel like it, and it's a pilau. But Tony Pierre, who loves curry, said to me one day, why don't you do a curry pilau? I said, a curry pilau? I've never heard of that. He said, but it's the same way you cook chicken. You do the curry instead and put chickpeas in it and you do a curry pilau. Okay, so I did just that. I prepared this curry pilau and everybody was like, what is this? And it's a lovely meal and it's really simple, guys. Once you can do pilau, you just curry the chicken instead and throw your chickpeas in it and you have curry pilau. Put some coconut.
They're loving it. They're loving it here on Facebook Live.
Curry
They're loving it here. Gloria, say I'm going to cook that now. Gloria,
it's very easy. You just switch from the stew to the curry. And you put some, your curry spices in it, like your shadow benny or your cilantro, whichever, you know, and you make a curry pilau and it's wonderful. It's a lovely dish.
So we'll stay on the topic of food for a minute because we have some other stuff to go to because, you know, I let them salivate and you'll make your comments and if you have questions for Joan. But Joan is also known for a couple other good things. Well, Joan just known for her cooking. We all love her cooking. And the other day I get a tease because she made a new ice cream. Joan is an ice cream. It's funny, you don't like sweets, but you make ice cream.
But I'm not making it sweet though. It's never sweet when I make it. When you buy it, it's always sweet.
But it's sweet. It's like you put your foot in it. It's sweet. It's nice when you make your ice cream. So what is this new ice cream you made the other day?
I made guava ice cream and it is heavenly, if I may say so myself. Tony said, I mean, I've made many different ice creams so far. I mean, my list is coconut, Guinness, peanut, which is Nicole's favorite.
Yes.
I did something else the other day. Can't remember now, but anyway. But Tony says this peanut, this guava ice cream, as far as he's concerned, is the best ice cream I've ever made. I was surprised. It came out really, really, really smooth, nice, not too sweet, just perfect. I enjoy making ice cream, although I'm not a sweet tooth person, but I really don't make it that sweet so that I could enjoy it.
I just hope you hide mine in the freezer.
I have some for you.
Okay, because I keep telling Joan Pierre that a freezer could keep ice cream, it could keep food, and I can always get it. It have Uber Eats just for Joan. Listen here, we're talking about Linda Charles says, I tried that curry pilau a few years ago. Everyone laughed at me. They thought it was a mistake. They didn't realize it was a real thing. Jenny Gums is like, I hear you make a great hot sauce and green seasoning too.
I'm making hot sauce tonight, actually. As soon as I'm finished here, I'm in the kitchen making pepper sauce tonight. Because I have orders coming left, right, and center, so I have to make another batch.
You and your
I've sold out everything for the last 2 weeks that I had.
And here's the funny thing with Joan's pepper sauce. So for those of you who know me, you know I can't eat pepper. It is, do not laugh. Well, if you want to laugh, that's your business. But pepper for me has, when I was growing up, and Joan knows the story, I had an ear infection. And because I used to love to be in the ocean, and somewhere I got an ear infection, and that affected me eating pepper sauce. My ears burn me when I eat pepper sauce. So I really cannot enjoy pepper sauce like most people. However, when it comes to Joan Pierre pepper sauce, there is something in my palate that says you have to at least put it in your food because it's so tasty. If you want your food to come in, put a little bit of Joan Pierre pepper sauce in it, and it just come in nice. It just bring the food in real nice. Well, you're really getting into our intimate conversation here tonight. Anyways, let's go back a sec. So for your dad, what did you learn from your dad? Or treasure from learning from your dad?
My dad taught me many, many lessons. There's one thing, strange enough, Christmas is coming up. And it's something he did when we were children and we had to deliver every Christmas. He'll make all the homemade bread, package them, and deliver it to the areas where I would say those who are struggling, they lived in a particular area, and he will go down that street and we'll jump out the car and deliver bread to all these people. Every Christmas, we enjoy doing that. Mom might make some other stuff and add to it if the family is really big or something like that. But we did that constantly for years from a child. And you know, I came to Canada and that's exactly what I do at Christmas now. For years now, rather than go out and get gifts and buy this, and no, I'm not going into that at all. Now that I have my pepper sauce, I have sweet bread, I have homemade bread, I have hops. Well, some people get in hops this year rather than the homemade bread because they prefer the hops. I see your hands going up, Miss
I
Nicole.
never had the hops yet. Just say it.
Just saying. So anyway, so my package will be my homemade things that I do. Then I'll give to my family included, and my close friends. So there's that that came from dad. That straight from my father. Also, when I was leaving Trinidad, my dad said to me, Joan, you're going into a world that you don't know. You're going to a world where the population is society, it's white.
Right.
It's not a Black community you're going into. So anything that you're doing, wherever you're working, make sure you give 110% to that job, no matter how big or small it is. Always give 110%. And you know, I've lived by that. I will do the same thing if I'm volunteering somewhere or if I'm being paid. I will give the same 110% because that's instilled in me from my dad, and I live by it today. And to me, that is what brings success for me. Because when I give the 110%, it's noticed by others that I've done something, or that was not in my contract, but look what she did. I could walk away, but I'm leaving something behind.
Yes.
And this is where I say to people, I have never produced a brochure of any kind to say who I am. I've never really, people ask me why don't I have a website? I've never did, my husband's a computer guy. It's easy for me to say, okay, Tony, I need a website and let's get it going, but I've never done a website because I believe in word of mouth. If you know me and you know my work, you could sell me without I'm saying a word. And I have lived through that for the last 35 years on my own, with individuals just telling others, you want someone to do an event, you want someone to manage whatever it is, call Joan Pierre. I've gotten all my contracts from someone who told someone to hire me. I have never, ever gone out there and give out brochures to say, this is who I am and stuff. I've never done it. I mean, sometimes I think maybe I should, but I have lived without it. And I've lived with people just knowing to call me in any area that they know I'm an expert at it. And I just, and it's, to me, it's my giving of that 110% to my work that creates that. I remember way back when, what's his name? It come back to me. I did an event and I'm always backstage. I'm not in the front. Nobody would see me. I had to come out at a break in the show itself. And I happened to go into the lobby and I ran into this individual. And he said to me, I knew from the time I walked in here that you were behind this. That was the nicest compliment I could have received, knowing that someone could see my work without seeing me.
I remember that.
I just knew from the time I got here that Joan Pierre had to be behind this, because everything from the outside to the inside was just working and working smoothly. And it fills me with joy as a Black person to be able to do that, because to me, I'm making my community look good. I'm making my community feel, aha, we can do this as well. We don't have to go outside of our community to do it. We can do it as well. And it's that I live by and have benefited in many ways by just doing what I do to the best of my ability, and always say to those who are around me, just do the best you can. And if you don't know, do not pretend that you know. Go and get the help to do what it is you want to do. So there are some people out there who say yes to everything. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. But really and truly, they can't really. They're just going to fudge it to get it done. Don't do that. Just don't. Just if you don't know one part of whatever it is, ask for help. It's not all aspects of event planning that I love, not at all. But I'll find the right people to make sure that it's at my standard and I know they can carry it. That's why I have you, Nicole.
Oh boy. Stop it. Behave yourself. This conversation is about you.
It's true. It's a fact. It's why I have you there as my everything. Because I know if I can't handle it, I can give it to Nicole and she can get it done. And it will be as though Joan was there. That's what I need. That's the kind of people I surround myself with. And I'm lucky. I'm really lucky to have a cadre of men and women who support what I do and will drop anything and come and support any event that I'm getting involved with. And I know I can depend on them. And that's what you have to build. That's what you have to do when you build where you want to go and how you want to be perceived outside of your own community, particularly.
And that's what you do so well. And so for those of you joining us, I am speaking with the extraordinary icon, Joan Pierre, a recent Lifetime Award winner, got an award this weekend. Finally, it's her first Lifetime Achievement Award at age, what are you now, 75, Joan? Going on
76.
76, Lord, I miss a year. Joan is 76. Can you believe this is the first time she's received a Lifetime Achievement Award? I'm just blown away. Anyway, I'm so glad that Afro Global Television bestowed that upon you. And this is the start of a series of Trailblazers Legends in Time. I want to celebrate the legends in time that are here and not wait until they have transformed and transitioned to a place in time. So Joan has shared growing up in Trinidad, mom, dad, the love of fashion, and we're going to take a couple steps back. We're going to come back and catch forward. We're going to dance because her parents love dancing, and Joan loves to dance. Loves to dance. She will be on her feet when everybody else sitting down. So Joan, you came up here, you ran away from your parents. So this is for those of you who just joined, you missed the part when Joan said, okay, I am the eldest of 10 children. And then it was time to, find herself because she was, doing her due. And she told her dad, listen, I'm leaving on a jet plane. Can't be. Okay, I just thought about that song. But anyways, me and my silly self. So she's going on a jet plane and she comes to Canada. And so you started working and you worked for Bell, right?
Yeah, I worked
Okay.
for Bell for 12 years.
Wow. And a lot of people don't know that because they just see the event part of you.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into this event part, more of the event part of you, and I can tell that your dad and your mom really built up that piece of integrity, and your dad was, that entrepreneurial spirit of your dad. So then you met this guy. We were playing his music at the start, aka Tony Pierre, aka Anthony Pierre, aka the only person that who have you by, you could say, you see how, ladies and gentlemen, do you see her blushing? She's blushing because anytime you mention Anthony Pierre, even though how many years you've been married now, look at her, she's blushing. Yes. Are you guys give her some love? Give her some love. She's blushing. She's blushing. How many years you're married to him and you're still blushing, Joan?
42.
42 years. This is what I love. I could tease her anywhere and she starts blushing. This is love. This is what love is. So how did you meet the love of your life? And he is the love of your life.
At a party, actually. Well, let me put it this way. The first time I really saw him, he was on stage performing. He was an actor in those days, and he was on stage performing in a play. And I heard his voice. That's all I heard was his voice on stage, because he is supposed to be an old guy on stage, so you can't really see too much, but I heard his voice. And I went to my girlfriend who invited me to the play. I said, who's that guy? And she said, that's a guy called Joan Pierre. I said, all right. And I just kept watching him and saying, wow. So when it was finished, she said, I'm invited to the after party. Do you want to go? I said, sure. So I went to the after party. And that's when I met Tony Pierre. And I got chatting a little bit with Tony Pierre, but he's a very shy guy. believe it or not, he's not talking too much. You have to do the talking. He's very shy. But anyway, I met him and that was it. And time to go home, I told my girlfriend, okay, let me get the bus to get home. And I went to get the bus and he came down to get the same bus.
Oh,
So we got talking more and that led to phone calls after that. And we started just getting to know each other on the phone. Because I tell you, he really took months before he even asked me to go to a movie. And I'm wondering what's wrong with this guy. He would just chat on the phone, call me how you're doing and talk about work. And he was at York University studying computer science at the time. And we just talked, we chatted a lot on the phone until finally he asked me to go and see French Connection is the first movie I saw with him.
and you remember that?
Yes, French Connection. It was really, I mean, I was really happy that he asked me out. And I figured, well, this thing might be going places. And it did. We connected. We saw something in each other. I used to play tennis. He started coming on weekends to play tennis with me. That, as he said afterwards, he fell for me playing tennis.
Ooh,
That's when he went like,
was it those legs?
I don't know. I think so.
The netball legs.
And, you know, we just kept on going from there. But Tony is a very interesting individual. And I saw so much in him that I felt if I want to settle with a guy, this is the guy I want to settle with because I saw what he can give to a child. And that was in my head at the time. If I have to have a child, I would love a dad like this
Wow.
because he's so knowledgeable. He's so deep in thought. He would share a lot with a child that we could possibly have. And that was driving me to learn more about him. And we just continued from there and blossomed. But the strange thing was when we settled, he started, before we really settled down, he started this. He would look at me and says, why? I was working at Bell Canada at the time. And then he said, but
You're going
why
into the
don't you get involved with other things?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you seem to have a creative side of you you're not using, which I didn't know I had. And he said, no, but it is. Let's look at some theaters. And he really, the mastermind behind me being what I am today. Because he said, well, he'll take me to shows. I will look at things I really like. Then he'll say, well, why don't you go to college or something and learn it? I went to Humber College to do lighting. So I did lighting designs at Humber College. And I went, what? That's fascinating. And then, of course, I end up liking stage management because I'm poking into it now that he has opened the door. And I went to Rasmus, I did theater production, I did television production. And that's how I started into all this creative art stuff over and over again. And it's because of him. No, I couldn't understand at one point, why was he pushing me in that direction?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he wanting me to be so independent of him? I didn't see what he was trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Pierre did not want to have a woman in his life depending on him for everything.
Mm.
He could give you the love and stuff, but he did
Right.
not want that clingy woman who must get everything they're looking for. They're looking to him to get it.
Yeah.
He wanted that a woman in his life that have that independence from him and have her own path of things that she likes to do and not be so tied to him. That's what he was trying to do, but I didn't see it at the time. I understood it later on in life. Because that's why people now sometimes say, they see me all the time and they say, you really have a husband?
Because they don't see
Seem
him.
to see him. I don't seem to see him because he doesn't have to be involved with me to do the things that I do. I help him. He has his music, he has his band, and I'll help him and do whatever I could with his music to help him get where he wants to go with it. But I have my own world. I have my own life. I am so independent. I keep telling people I'm independent inside of a marriage.
And is that one of the secrets to your marriage? Because if I tell everybody I always look to Joan and Tony when it comes to marriages. Is one of the few couples that I look to, and this piece of the independence dependence piece,
Mhm.
right? Um, is such like a treasure chest. And Tony, yes, we're talking about you. Yeah, I don't know if you're listening. You're probably down in the basement playing music. So hopefully you don't hear a thing we tell it. Or don't go and tell Tony Perry was talking about him tonight, please. I might get degraded, uh, downgraded. But share a little more on that piece of, like, I know that if you want to do something that Tony's really not into, how you guys have negotiated that. But when Tony sees something that you're really passionate about, how he will still go to it, even though it's something. Can you share that piece? Because I think
Yeah,
it's couples that are,
yeah.
that are married and getting through this type of negotiation piece.
There are things that if I am involved with one particular event, let's say, and it's really close to me, I would say to him, okay, you normally don't go to the things that I do, XXX, but this one, I want you to be there. And if I say that to him, he will be there. He will come, he'll attend, right? And he'll engage because, I want him to be there. But most times I don't have to. But anything that he is doing musically, I'm always there because I know there's parts of what he does when he's doing his music that he depends on me to do it for him. And I have done it before where I couldn't be, and I sent you. I said, Nicole, I can't be there for Tony, remember? I can't be there for Tony,
Yes.
but I need you to be there for Tony because Tony likes X, Y, and Z. And you could fill that role for me. And that's the kind of understanding we have when we share and when we go separate ways. The things he would do that I'm not involved. I have nothing to do with it. But it is that he is there when I need him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He'll be there in a flash if I need him. But he would leave me up to my own device. And if I need him, I say I need him.
What
But
what
we have
advice,
that understanding.
what advice could you give? And I say it on two things. So you go for the goal. When I think of couples, young couples, mature couples, couples getting remarried, advice for them. But then even now, when I think about COVID, you're hearing about actually couples are getting divorced in COVID because like they're spending more time together. How are you managing to still maintain that space and that independence and yet that love and camaraderie and keeping it together, not wanting to kill each other?
Because we give each other space. You have to give individually space to do whatever they want to do. So a day at home, okay. Tony loves to have me prepare breakfast for him. Now I'll tell you what happened. He's retired, okay? But when he was working, my rule was Monday to Friday, you're on your own. I'm not getting up from my bed on the mornings to make breakfast for you and you leaving so early to go to work. I'm not getting into that.
Right.
But weekends, I will always prepare a lovely breakfast for you on Saturdays and Sundays. Always.
Right.
That was the rule. Okay. Because I'm a night person. So although he was, I'm going to bed late anyway, he might go in earlier than me because he has to get up early or whatever. So Monday to Friday, I'm not doing breakfast for you. Sorry, I'll do it on weekends. Now he retired. So my thing was, hold on a minute. Do I have to change now to do it Monday to Friday because he's home? So I said, listen, I know you're home now. You're retired. Do not expect me to cook breakfast Monday to Friday. I will do it intermittently. I'll prepare breakfast for you, but don't expect it every day. But you'll still get your weekends. Weekends, he's really, really look forward to, because I'll create something nice and all, because I love to cook. I'll do nice things for him. So he loves his weekend meals. So you just have to talk through.
Yeah.
Don't assume, just talk it through what it is, because the expectation is what creates the problem. What you expect.
I love that dynamic about it. And one thing You see, we're sharing trade secrets here. This is about conversations. This is about really being true. And one of the things Joan and I always do, we have real conversations, even though it may be something that I may like or I may not like, or I'm afraid. She will always tell me the truth, and I always tell her the truth. And I think that's the beauty of our conversations and our relationship. Um, as I think about you and Tony, Joan always, even as she's busy, one of the things I've admired about Joan, I said, Lord Jesus, please, when you bless me with a husband, he cannot meet Tony Pierre early, because he will expect some things that I might not be able to give. Joan always makes sure, and I know the mature and the older folks on the line here, the trailblazers like Gloria, and they make sure that the food is cooked. So when you leave home, you always make sure. That's one thing Joan has taught me, that when you leave home, make sure that there's something for your loved one to eat, even if it has to heat up, even if you have to cook 2-3 days before. I know even as Joan was preparing for this live today, I could bet my last dollar that Joan made sure that dinner was ready, so that when she had to do this,
Yeah.
Tony wouldn't have to, if Kathy
Yeah.
was home, everything. And Kathy's the same way, isn't she?
Yeah. 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 She's very definitely like me when coming to the meals and making sure it's there. And yeah, she's definitely me.
So speaking of Kathy, talk about and everybody knows some of the things that you do in life. If we're going to go into Caribana and those things, we might have to have like a part 2 and 3. Maybe the next few Mondays should be you. Anyways, a whole series on Joan Pierre.
Oh
Joan
no.
Pierre the documentary, Joan Pierre the movie. Oh gosh, you're liking that? Yes, look, they're liking it. Lots of hearts and things coming up here. Wait, before I go into stuff, hold on. The dynamics of good relationship. Not everyone gets this. Love this. Sheila saying, sending warm Trini love to Joan. Congratulations on your lifetime award.
Thank
Winston
you.
Dial is watching. Wendy Jones says, blessings. They're loving the advice that you're giving to lots of love, man, interactions and things happening here. So Joan,
Yes.
so you have your career, your husband, and then comes Kathy. Now, growing up in these times and you see all the different things going on, what words of wisdom could you give to parents who are bringing up children that they should instill from a young age that will become like that seed and foundation? I know I say to myself, if I knew Joan, I wish I had known, like I knew Joan when I was 19, when I was pregnant, but we didn't have these conversations that we had later on. The conversations that I wish when I first had my son, I wish I had them sooner rather than later. And so I've learned some things along the way. What are some of those words, pearls of wisdom that you would give to parents bringing up kids now that they should have as a foundation?
Well, the one thing that parents must watch out for is what it is your son or daughter is passionate about. Don't force them into the direction because you think that's what they should be. It's the thing that parents should not do. Give them everything. Like we expose Kathy to everything. Academics, you had to be good in your academics, sports, music, piano lessons, ballet dancing, swimming, the whole 9 yards. Expose them to as much as you can.
Right.
So they would find what in that mix that they really, really like. And if they find it early, some kids find it later in life, some find it very early. If they find it early, it's great because then they are inspired to be that person. Kathy found that she wanted to be a dancer. After all that we had gone through and given her all, she didn't like the piano, gymnastics, no, don't like the bar, no. We give her everything. But she just wanted to be a dancer. I was very nervous because to me, I thought at the time, oh, if you break your leg, if you get damaged, what would you do next if you're only a dancer?
Right.
That was my concern. And all I said to her is, okay, just make sure you keep your academics high so that if you have to fall back, you you have that in your pocket. And that's what she did. She kept the academics very high so she could pursue the career that she wanted as a dancer. And she did just that. So to me, it's for parents to try to navigate this path and help their kids find the passion, no matter what it is. You may not like it. You may not
Yeah.
say, I think it's the best thing for him or her. Let them find their own passion. That will bring them success. Kathy finding that dance thing that you wanted to do, I mean, it was like heaven for her through the
Yeah.
entire journey, you know? And I mean, can you really understand at age 18, 17, going on 18, you sending your child off to New York to Alvin AD to study dance? I mean, my heart was just like, I can't breathe. Because you know what New York was in those days, like you worried totally, but she was focused. That's what she wanted to do, and she did it and did it very well. And she just had success coming out of it. Straight out of school, she got to the Lion King. Out of Lion King was Bombay Dreams on Broadway. Out of Bombay Dreams on Broadway was Cirque du Soleil.
And you've never
But
missed it. You've never missed an opening. You've never missed a show.
never, never,
Really.
no matter where she is.
You
I'm
and
there for opening night.
yeah.
I'm not missing. Tony missed one that he couldn't go on. That boy, I think it was something he was doing he couldn't get out of.
Mhm.
And that hurt him, boy. That hurt him big time. But I never missed any. I never missed any. And it is because she found her passion really early. That's what she
Yeah.
wanted to do. So as I say, not always it will be that they find it early in life. They may find it late in life, but just expose them and look at them closely and see what it is they want to do with their life, and just give them all the opportunities to master it, because then it becomes joy and not work when you're
Right.
passionate about it.
And that's what you do now. Like, how did you prepare Kathy? Because when I think of now and New York and we're dealing with racism and now the conversation is back up, we're talking about it. And how did you and Tony prepare Kathy and yourselves to have that conversation about dealing with racism, especially being Black in New York and in a dance where, like, she was in Alvin Ailey, but she was still doing ballet and she was in a very
Yeah, yeah. That's the part of Tony that
Mhm.
I knew from the start, that he would give her a lot of that in-depth history as to where we came from, who we are as a people, and what people think of us, which could be very wrong, but that's what they see and that's what they think. That came from Tony. So during the time here before she took off, she got all those in little snippets of stuff, not like a long lesson of any kind. Although sometimes when we do start talking of stuff, she used to say to Dad, Daddy, you're too long-winded, get to the point. She just said, Dad, you're too long-winded, Dad. Just get to the point. I just want to hear the end. But it's over time that she got the lessons, and she knew when she got, I did let's say the how to live on your own style came from me. Make sure she knew how to take care of herself, how to do her clothes, how to wash your clothes. She chuckled when she said her roommates in the States didn't know how to really wash their clothes properly. So it's all those little things. As a girl, I made sure she knew to do all of that. She loved to cook, and she always. And so we gave her the tools for her to be independent. She is so independent, is ooh,
You and Tony
very independent.
combined. You and Tony combined, totally.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
She
and
is. She got him and she got me.
you got a beautiful heart, just like you guys.
Yeah,
So I
she's a giving soul. The part of her that I could look back now and say that I love about my daughter is the giving side of her.
mm,
She gives so, even while she was in Cirque, and lived on the road, particularly when they went to New Orleans after Katrina.
yeah,
She went to the her boss and said, I want 20 tickets to give to a school so those kids could come and see a Cirque show. And he said, okay, but he did not come back to her fast enough. So she thought that he wasn't coming back to her at all. So she went and asked all the staff, all the performers, all the staff, I want your ticket, buy a ticket, give me money for a ticket.
Wow.
She got so many, then the boss heard what she was doing. And he had to hand over the 20 tickets. So she ended up with 40 tickets.
Amazing.
So she had 2 classrooms from New Orleans, kids who would never, ever see a Silk show, come to see Silk. She said that night, she said it's 2 days. It was difficult for her to perform because she's seeing the kids just like in shock, the expression, and she's right there in front of them. She said it was just unbelievable. But that's what she does. She does it in every single city she goes to. She find a way to bring underprivileged kids who will never see a Silk show to this. They got used to her doing it now, so they do
Let's
it.
know. Kathy, how many?
Yeah. Like one Christmas. I imagine we didn't see Kathy for months. Half time, once for the year we may see her. I go to see a show or whatever. And she was supposed to come home for 2 weeks. They had a 2-week break. And then she said to me, Mom, I'm only coming for 5 days. I said, what do you mean? Where are you going? I'm going to New Orleans to build houses. That's where she went.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. She went to New Orleans to help them build homes for the people, and then came home for 5 days, and that was it. That's what I got. So that part of her really, really makes me happy. That she's not a selfish child.
It's
She's
really
a giving child.
A real combination of you and Tony. If people know, people know certain things that you do, and this is a part that's why I said, um, you deserve to get an award because you're giving so silently and behind the scenes, and you remind me of Tyler Perry and like where people only hear about him after the fact. Oh, he gave this and this and this and. But you've also made sure that young children can get to the shows. And if you hear somebody in need, you also make sure quietly just go do what you got to do, So, and I know I've been a benefactor of that, and I am so appreciative. So for you guys listening online, I'm talking to the iconic Joan Pierre, trailblazer icon. And we've been touching on some of her personal life, and I hope you're getting to know Joan a little better, like some of us do. Paula is online, and you have some of your beautiful fans online. Sarah Oyango is online. Deborah Wright is online. Many people are relating to the stories, and I appreciate that. Now, hopefully we get through this whole interview, but tonight I'm telling you guys, sit back, get another drink, because we're going through part 2 starting now, because we didn't even touch Caribana, we didn't touch Panamania, we haven't even, listen, when you're talking to a trailblazer, you have to sit back. This is you're going to learn a little something. Joan's husband, Anthony Pierre, aka Tony Pierre, calls me Nikita. None of y'all could call me Nikita. Don't even think about it. So this is in Nikita part 2 of Victory Speaks with Joan Pierre. So Tony has seen your passion for the arts. He is propelling you into another phase of your destiny. You have Kathy, and you guys are married now, in love. I feel like we have to do a story on the whole love story thing and the wedding and all that kind of stuff. That'd be a nice little segue. And but wait, I was going to go to Caribana and thing, but wait, Kathy was a preemie.
Yes. She was 2 pounds 10.
Yeah, and just share a little bit of that, because I think people need to, there's so much in that story of Kathy being a wee one and now being a I don't even know what to call, she's a lioness. Like,
well, I had her 7 months. She was a 2 pound 10 baby. Very scary to look at because she's really tiny. And but somehow I just knew she was going to make it. Regardless how small she was, I just knew she was going to make it. And I did all that I can to help her get through the first couple of months of her life, which meant pumping milk every single day and taking her to the hospital, because they kept her for 6 weeks to build her up. And I had to just I would be crying at nights because it's hurting. It's everything. And Tony say, want to stop? Nope. Just pump that milk. I need that milk to give to her. So I'll freeze it and take it to the hospital. And that's the milk they gave her. I didn't want them to give her anything else. And I did that until I got her out of the hospital after 6 weeks. And it's just looking at this one tiny human being and knowing that you are responsible in making sure that she comes through and comes through strong. So I just did everything I can, including, this is something I don't think I've shared with you.
Yes,
I
plenty.
made all her food.
What?
I made all Kathy's food. I never bought food in the grocery.
Right.
What I would do I'll go to the grocery and take up the little bottles and I'll read what they put together, whether it's the peas or the potato or whatever. I'll read the ingredients. Wish I had cell phones then, I would just take a picture. But I just used to read it and write it down. And I'll go home and every Sunday, I would spend the time making her foods for the week because I had a lady, just Clark, used to come in and look after Kathy every day when I went to work. It wasn't like, no, 3 months and you're back to work.
Yeah.
And now you have a whole year, which is great. And I will make all her food for the entire week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday. And she knew what to give her every day. And because all I was concerned was making sure she ate the right foods to build her up strong. And that was, I bought everything sterilized. My sister-in-law, who bought everything in the grocery, I said, give me the bottles. So then I had the right measurement. I said, okay, you buy it in the grocery, give me the bottles. I sterilized them and I made my own bottles.
Wow.
And that's how she grew up, basically making sure I cooked everything for her. She's not getting anything store-bought. Store-bought. So it was, you had to spend the time and do whatever you could to make sure this child was healthy because of how small she was at birth. And she blossomed. Mind you, she would have been fine until one day Tony had to pick her up at the babysitter, which was my sister-in-law. And he had to pick her up. And she was fussing in the car. And he, knowing the only way to make her stop fussing is to give her her finger to suck. I was trying to break out of sucking the finger. He unzipped the top in winter, unzipped the top and gave her the finger to get the hand, whatever. That's what she got bronchial problems.
Oh my God.
That's where the asthma came from.
Wow.
He started it.
To be sorry, Tony, but he was just trying.
Yeah, he couldn't do what to do with her. She's balling, so he gave her the finger. And that exposure, because remember, as a preemie child, your chest is what is the weakest.
Right.
That's what is the weakest on you. That is your chest. And he exposed her chest to that draft. And she started the wheezing thing, and that went into asthma thing. And that's how we end up back in Trinidad. Because she was in it from age 18 months. She was in and out of the hospital every couple of weeks. She was in and out of the hospital with this bronchial, can't breathe. Half the time I'm in the car holding her and saying, God, please let me get to the hospital. But she's just struggling to breathe. So after a while, the doctor said, get her out of this climate. The climate was not good for her. And that's how we end up living at home for 3 years.
Wow.
But she blossomed in Trinidad. We went home. I made sure she went into swimming, dancing. She was doing ballet, and exposing her to every weekend going to Maracas, exposing her to clean air. And all of that stuff worked. In 3 years' time, she never got an attack again.
Wow.
All the asthma disappeared from the time we went to Trinidad. The climate here is what was keeping it fluctuating constantly. But once we went to Trinidad, she blossomed at home, she got stronger, and we came right back.
Wow, it's funny the climate here, how it is. And I love how the fact that you and Tony did that sacrifice, recognized it and made the change. And made that change.
Well, the first thing was Tony said, you're going home. No. First, the doctor said, send her home. Dr. Lasky, he said, send her home. We got home and then Tony says, she's not going home without you. You're going home with her. I'm
Right.
not sending her to any grandmother back home
Yeah.
without you. And I look at him and said, if I'm going home, you're going home. I'm not leaving you here. And that's how we really went home. Both of us went home, send his resume down, send my resume down, and everything just worked out beautifully because he got a job. And for me, it was lucky. Bell Canada was in Trinidad at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I went to my boss and tell her I'm quitting, she said, well, you don't really have to quit. Bell is in Trinidad. You could go to Trinidad and work. So it worked out perfectly for us.
I
So we
love that.
went home. We spent 3 years and we came back.
Three, the
No
number of
regrets.
manifestation. So Joan, if we're still good. We even haven't reached a 2 hour mark. So for those of you who are on, I'm glad you're on. I knew this was going to be a 2 hour conversation. For those who, if you have to come back and watch again, that's fine, because this is better than all the nonsense on TV. You are learning from the icons, and I am going to have more icons on here. And if there's an icon like Joan Pierre that you would like to learn a little more about, please let me know, because we have a few in our community. There are a few I want to tap into, but I don't know if they will have the health that they can be able to share and come on technology. But I am looking to Joan, like, if we could have that conversation, and when we get into Caribana, I would love to have a conversation and bring on some of the veterans
Of Caribana.
of Caribana and stuff like that, and veterans in other areas that you've been in. But before we get into your professional life, you have a love of reading. Um, you have to make a side pickup. Yes, look what I have.
Can't wait to get my hand on it.
Side pickup waiting for you. So if you know Joan Pierre, you know she has a love of reading, and if you don't know, well, now you know. And her compadre is on here, Paula. So you have a love of reading. Tell us about this love of reading, and I know you're in a book club.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love to read, yes. And I love biographies. I love reading biographies. But the book club that Paula formed, which was wonderful, we looked at it, it was 15 years ago now, I'm losing track. Um, we all married, got your kids, kids left home, they're gone. Why don't we get back together? And that's how Paula started this. Let's get back together with all the people we still, with as friends, but not seeing each other. So that's how it started. And we got back together and we started this book club stuff, which is really phenomenal. I love it, love it, love it. What we have done that makes it very interesting, particularly Paula, is that most times, whatever book we're reading, where the setting is, we put the food to it when we meet, right? That's one thing that's nice. And we share it every time we meet is someone else's home. So everybody, and you will take care of it when it's your home. You take care of the food or whatever. And it's really, really interesting. And among us, we have quite a few cooks among us who love to cook. And Paula is a top in terms of presentation. We cannot touch Paula.
Right.
When Paula it's Paula's turn, and we going to Paula's house, you can't ask for more. It's just stunning. It's classy. It's thoughtful. It's colorful. She puts everything into it when she has the group over to her place. She's queen for that. And but we all enjoy it. We really, really enjoy it. We discuss the book. Sometimes some people didn't finish the whole book, so then they get caught up in the meeting kind of thing. But it's really, really nice. And it keeps a group of women together, helping each other, supporting each other in whatever we're doing. If there's problems, we could pull together and help you. If we want advice, there's somebody in the room could give advice to you about any particular thing, whether it's marriage, whether it's children. There's always something we could share among the 10 of us. So it's really, book club thing is nice, and I enjoy my reading. And as I say, I'm a biography reader. So in the group, everybody, you get a chance to choose a book,
Right.
right? So because I like biographies, I tend to do that. And then somebody like, a thriller or, whatever, they'll choose what they like, and we look at it and we decide on that book in particular. But it's really nice, really nice. And
So
I'm looking forward to that one you have there in your house.
yeah, just waiting here for you. So is there, so is this book club, people, the one thing I never get invited to is the book club, eh? So I feel it's for the mature generation. Anyways, I ain't say nothing. I'm gonna start my own book club. Don't worry, my own book club. And Paula, if you're still watching, we're gonna have to have a conversation about the decor. If you are looking for somebody to do your decor for an event, if you're looking for invitations, if you're looking for, listen,
Weddings.
and Paula, listen, we bring in Paula on. Before Paula, I'm gonna find it. If I have to do a special show just for Paula and me decor. Now, I don't know, because it's COVID, I can't get her to the house to decorate my house, but we will figure out, we will let her show some of her stuff, but we really need to amplify Paula. So if you were to give us maybe your top 3 to 5 books, give us some books that you would recommend. I know. We love you, Paula Joseph. We love you.
I mean, definitely, we read every one of the Obama books. That's for sure. I've read all of them. I'm going blank on books.
I know you love Becoming by Michelle Obama. I know you love that.
Yeah. I read Michelle as well. Nothing coming to me in my head.
Paula, if you remember a book that she loves, drop it in the chat. So we will move on because
I just went blank on all the books.
You love books, you love music, you love cooking, and now we know you love events. So somehow I have to, hey, I'm pontificating right now. I need like Tony Pierre. Tony Pierre have some words going that I wish I could think. How do we coin the rest of this conversation? Okay, you ready, people? Strap your belt on, sip your glass of water. Joan and the career. Joan, you have done so much in your time. And when I met you, A State of Wonder, Paula says, you loved A State of Wonder, is one of the books that you love. Yeah. Her face just brightened up like that. When I met you, I was 19. I had recently come to Canada, and Deborah, A Promised Land, she hasn't read it yet, but it's actually at my house waiting for her. I ordered her copy and it's here. So actually my dad has stolen my copy of The Promised Land, so I haven't been able to touch it yet. So coming up here, Joan, I came up here and I can't remember who it is I met first. I don't even know how I found out about Caribana.
Kwame.
It was Kwame Williams. You see? Kwame Williams, the veterans. And oh God, that's another story. I have to interview Kwame and Janelle. And then volunteering with Joan. And when I came to Caribana, 1988, 1989, there was this posse of women. They were like, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is not even good enough to describe these women. Bonnie Hector, Anne-Marie Placid, Noreen Callender. I mean, these women were just slaying it, and Joan was at the helm. Joan, we have to do, listen, you're getting a teaser tonight. I'm sorry, this is only a teaser, because the Caribana conversation is going to be epic. Epic, okay? So, Joan, tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Caribana and what was that like? Because we have many other things in your career we have to touch, eh? All right, okay.
Actually, when I came back to Canada from Trinidad, which was 1985, 85, yes. When I came back, I could have gone back to Bell Canada, because by that time they had given me like the 4 years. In those days, they give you the 4 years leave of absence and you go on and do something else. So I'm going to Trinidad, right? and I'm working in telco in Trinidad, the telephone company. So I could come back to Bell. But while I was in Trinidad, I got bitten by, I would say, the arts bug, because I was doing a lot of shows in Trinidad as well. I did a number of shows on television for unknown talent. I used to look for unknown talent all over the country and highlighted them on a Thursday night at TTT. I did, Telco was celebrating their centennial celebration. And because they knew who I was, they asked me to manage it for them. And I did that at Shagaramas, which was really, really wonderful. I also did some documentary work with an outside producer where we documented this lady who never had children, but every young woman who had a child and didn't want the child will drop the child at her door. She has 16 kids in St. James, behind in some back street. She had this little 2-bedroom place with all these kids. And we did a documentary on her, and went to the government to say that you have to give her a home to look after these children. And we were successful with that, which was something I always felt good about, helping this lady with all these children. So when I came back, I was sort of bitten with that bug of wanting to do events and get involved in the arts in some way or other. And Caribana came knocking when they heard I was back. They said, Joan Pierre is back in Canada. She always did events on the side. Why don't we talk to her? So that's how I got into Caribana, and they asked me to produce the Queen Show. That was the first thing I did with them.
Now quantify the Queen Show, because people might be thinking of.
No, it was Caribana Queen Show. They used to have in those days in the 80s, way back in the 80s. So I got involved with that.
It was a pageant, right? We're talking about the
pageant. Yeah.
Because I want people to understand me, because remember, Queen Carnival is not
that.
Yeah. More going on. It's in the beginning.
Yeah, we're talking pageant. And what I did with the pageant, the first year I just watched and see what it is they were doing, helping them, but just looking. And then the following year I went like, okay, we need to do more than this. So I decided I don't want it just to be a beauty pageant. I wanted it to be more. So I created the talent side of it, have talent and have the beauty side. So let them perform, let them do whatever they can do talent-wise. So we did that to lift it, and they used to have it at the Royal York Hotel and all of that. So it grew from there. And then at some point, 2 to 3 years into it, they decided they don't want to do it anymore. There was a protest, I would have to say, about women pageants or whatever. There was a negative something about pageants. So they decided to drop it. Okay. And we just remained doing the other events in Caribana. And it grew from there, from production manager to executive producer. I mean, I really enjoyed my time in Caribana. I grew, I learned a lot because I had the right people around me, like the Joanne Smale as our publicist.
Yes.
One of the best publicists you have in Toronto, and we had her, and we had David Wilkinson, the marketing guy.
Yes.
I mean, he's a marketing guru out in LA, in California and all that.
Caribana? When David was there, the sponsorship that he brought into Caribana was like bar none.
Yeah, it's like they never had that since. Never had it since. I mean, David with the huge sponsorship, he will get $750,000 from one person, $500,000 from the next. Like, I mean, that one year, which was that? It was 1989 or 90, one of the two, when we were close to $1 million. Caribana never did that since. We were really growing and getting I had the right people around me, had a great staff. We struggled, yes, in terms of having staff full-time. It was just the three of us, sometimes the two of us, Bonnie and myself alone, right through from like October onto March, April, before we could get staff. So there was a big struggle and a big, sacrifice you had to make. We sacrificed to make it work, but it was getting there. And then all the negative stuff happened and I'm out.
You know, it's so funny when I think about Caribana and hey, Sam Lewis is on there. Sam was on there as well. And on the board, and you had so many great people. I know my foundation in Toronto in terms of getting into events in Toronto. I mean, I was doing events in Trinidad, but doing events in Toronto really happened because of Caribana and meeting you and meeting the folks there. And if we just wanted to share just a little essence before we move on to the other pieces, what were the beautiful pieces of Caribana? Like when I think about the nuances of the island and even moving from the lake shore, from University
From
Avenue
University
to
Avenue to
Lakeshore. I mean, it
Lakeshore.
was growing by leaps and bounds. We're going to have that Caribana conversation because people need to learn the history of two staff, and the Santa Claus Parade have 5.
Yeah.
And 2 staff was carrying out this monumental event. There's a history that people have to learn about this
Yeah.
organization.
I mean, people really don't know the sacrifice, particularly Bonnie and myself, I would have to say, because we're the only 2 that remained. Everybody else was working full time somewhere, and they came to us later on, or March, April. But we had times where Caribana could not pay the rental on the equipment that is printing the stuff for us to do the grants.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, could not pay for the machine. So what I had to do, I would prepare them all. And Nigel, who was working at UFT, I will go across in my car, sit in the parking lot, give it to Nigel, and let Nigel print it and bring it back.
Wow.
So that we could submit. There were times we had no electricity. It's people have no idea the things that we sacrifice to hold Caribana together and not walk away. Many times when you say, why are you doing this? You could go and do something else. But it's my culture. It's something I love. It's something I want to see grow and get better. So I did this sacrifice for it. Not getting money for 5 months, 6 months. My husband was carrying everything, carrying the mortgage, the house, the car payments, the insurance, the name it. He carried it while I got no pay, and so it was sad in the end where it was growing and getting somewhere that we had to have individuals see something so wrong, because one thing I would say, they could not attack my work.
Correct.
They could not attack my work. The problem with me was I was too strong outside. The visibility outside disturbed some people.
Right.
And then they had to make my life miserable. But hey, it didn't destroy me.
No, it didn't. It
Didn't destroy me at all. Look where Caribana is today.
Yeah.
It didn't destroy me. I grew from there, because once I got out of there, that's, again, as I said, I never advertised who I am. People came to me. That's when Harborfront, Ontario Place, Canada Wonderland, they all came calling to ask me to do events at their locations. So I never lost anything.
Yeah. And I think, it was
My community lost.
Yeah, it was a painful experience because I remember it being painful.
Very
Because
painful.
you had built up a repertoire of volunteers and people that were
Yep.
very loyal. That
Yep.
I remember not sleeping. I remember being pregnant in Caribana, the risks that we took, the different. And so I look forward to us, and Wendy's like, yes, we need the conversation. I'm going to have the conversation because I think history, and not I think, I know history is important. It's important for people to get the facts straight and really pay honor to the people who were there, the steel, the Panis, Calypsonians, people who came from near and far, people who slept on my floor, people who slept on your floor, people just really sacrificed. And, some people just see the jam and wine and the partying, but they didn't know the intricacies of the work, what it took to make that.
To really make it happen.
The security part of it, and I remember being, that's why I get a reputation of being a badjan, For those who don't know what that word is, a Trinidadian word, make like a bad girl or a bad boy, because I was working with Sam Lewis as well as Joan under Sam doing a little security thing. I feel like I could have do anything, you know? These women, I could have done anything. So now you have transformed, and people have recognized the quality of what you were doing. And you went on to do one of the events I want us to talk about before we leave tonight. And we're definitely going to do another conversation if you're willing. I'm smiling. I just smiling right now. Anybody willing? Another conversation? Yes, yes. Um, Panamania. We cannot come off this line without talking about Don Shipley bringing you on board to do something that has never been done in the Pan Am Games before, which is Panamania. And it's
Well,
also part of your signature, your style. We can't come off this line without talking about, we talk about the style, but Panamania really exemplified.
yeah, it was, I must say, I'll always say thanks to Edison Doyle. 'Cause he
Mm,
was the one, he was working in Panamania,
I didn't
and
know
he
that.
was the one who recommended me to Don to
Okay.
say, if you want to do something, an event, a special type of event that have a nice Caribbean flavor in it and stuff, talk to Joan Pierre. And that's how he called me. So Don Chipley called me and asked me to send in 3 proposals for an event that they will support. So I did send 3. One was food. One had to do with youth. It was 2015, so kids turning 15 in 2015. I was doing something along those lines, and the other one was fashion. And he picked the fashion one and said, "No, I like the fashion side of it." So I said, "Okay." So I had to build up the fashion proposal, send it back to them, and then they accepted it. And it was bringing designers out of the Caribbean, different islands in the Caribbean, and doing these fashion shows. Originally, he wanted me to do 3 shows, and I went like, "Don, hell no." I said, "That's lovely, but 3 shows? You
What?
have no idea what the amount of work involved and the moving parts. To do 3 shows, I will do 2." So he says, okay, finally settled for 2. And we wanted one outside and one inside. So we did the one down by the lake, which was fabulous. The weather was like, I mean,
The weather
perfect
came out for you.
25.
The weather came out for you.
It came out that day, blue skies with boats float, on the lake, and this beautiful runway. It was just, every time I relive it, it feels so good. And that was wonderful with the designers coming out of Antigua, Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana. It was a nice mixture of Caribbean designs, and also I had a local designer from here,
Mhm.
um, to give them the opportunity to be among these monsters out of
Yeah,
Trinidad, these
yeah.
huge, huge people out of Trinidad. But because that's where, I mean, my style come from there. So it's easy. I knew them. It's easy to access them and things like that. And yeah, and we did the big one at Harbour Castle, the big gala night, and it was. I still enjoy thinking of it, looking in my mind how it unfolded. I had literally, when I counted the amount of people that helped, was close to 90 people.
Yeah, yeah.
Close to 90 volunteers I had helping me pull this thing together. And
And
it
people just
was
wanted to be
just
part of
like
it. They just wanted to be
Noreen,
part of it.
yeah, it was, I mean, I must say in this town, I have a solid, solid group of people who I could call on anytime, and they're there for me to help me. And I'm really, really every day grateful that I have the support that I need, because some of these events you can't pay everybody to do everything. You have to get volunteers to help you, and I have that. I have that in Toronto, so it's something that I'm always going to be happy that I got the opportunity, that Don gave me the opportunity to do that, and it came out really well.
And you're getting some kudos here. Noreen says greatest show in Toronto. Paula Joseph said this is one fantastic. Dr. Tyrone David says Pan Am Games was a great success, Joan. Wendy was, I am on the road out, so I have to catch you on the recorded out with the family. We know Wendy, thank you for tuning in. I'm so glad, Wendy, you tuned in. And I know this is a significant day for your family, and sending condolences to you and
Yeah,
your family and the loss of your nephew. And the fact that you tuned in tells me the love that you have for Joan, and Joan is very appreciative of it.
yeah.
I am look. What is Noreen saying? I'm looking at my program for Panamania. No, listen, you all, and Noreen, you're coming. I hope you're getting ready to come onto the podcast next. Yeah. Okay. Just slipping that in there. So, Joan, you,
Yes.
I mean, have produced so many events, and you've worked with politicians. You worked with Barbara Hall. You ran a campaign. Adam Vaughan, you did his campaign twice, that I recall. You've worked with Christian Wong Tam, and that's on the political side. You have done fundraisers. You've worked with National Ballet. You've sat on boards. Um, and one of the things is, you don't just stay in our community, you really expanded. And as I said, the Jamaicans could claim you as their own, the Bajans, the Africans, everybody get, you were a part of G98.7, in those, and the people who were there and were the foundations of building that still love you and appreciate you there. And I see how everybody was, just moving along. Even the people that we met in Caribana, Wendy Vincent and Toa Beer, and everybody is so still in your life. And then we come to the African Canadian Achievement Awards. And this work that you did, how long did you do the African Canadian Achievement Awards?
22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 22 years.
And
It was really, mm, it was a gift for me to do that, because we highlighted the individuals in our community that was making a difference. Nobody else was noticing. Because when Michael started it, Michael Van Kooten, Pride News Magazine, when he started it, he said every time he looked around at any type of an award show, it was the same individuals in our community getting the award. Like they circle around 4 people, every time it's the same 4 will be getting it. And there's so many more individuals who deserve to be recognized for the work they have been doing in all those different categories. So it was really a joy for me to run those awards for him for the 22 years. And it was just the thing I looked forward to every single year. And I must say, a nice group of solid individuals around me every year. Yourself and Terry and Wendy and
sure.
Burl, and the group was there head on every year. It was nice. It was really nice honoring. I was filled every year just knowing we have paid tribute to so many good people.
And I think one of the things I liked about that show when we did it is it wasn't just the people that we honored, the volunteers. You always made sure there was world-class musicians that were from Toronto that got showcased. You always were very diligent about who got to perform on that stage, and the show
Yeah.
had to have a flow, and people, the timing had to be on point, and the decor, Paula was doing decor at one point, and we were working with a small budget, but we did a massive show with
Good
a
job.
small budget.
Yeah.
And if you were to think of, and I mean, I don't want to call out anybody, but yes, I do. Anybody sticks out in your mind when you think about some of the icons we've honored in that time that really sit with you?
Oscar Peterson.
How did I know that?
I always remember when we honored him. Misha Gruber Gosson.
Oh, yes.
She was wonderful. Dr. Joe Daly. I mean, there's so many wonderful individuals out there that we paid tribute to. Jean Augustine, of course. Way back when, Zanina Akande. Dr. Govan.
Yes.
Baron. We did him. And you know what was nice too? When we did this special award for people like not a Black person. We
Yes.
did those, we chose one person that's not Black that did something for Black people and helped Black people. And that was a nice thing that Michael and myself came up with the last maybe 5-6 years of the awards. We started doing that. And I remember the first one we did was the guy from Ottawa. Why is his name not coming to me? Oh, I'm so mad at myself.
Sorry, but I put you on the spot, so.
Yeah, what's his name? You remember it from, he did the thing in Rwanda. He helped
Oh,
the
oh
kids
my,
in
was it the
Delaire. Delaire.
yeah, Romeo Delay?
Romeo Delaire.
I see his
Yes.
face and I couldn't say his name.
Yeah, Romeo Delaire. The first year we did it, and he was so moved, you know, the night. And that I think was really nice. We did Isabel Bassett also,
Yeah.
because she was one helping, you know, a lot of Black folks. So that was a nice touch inside of the awards that we came up with. It was really wonderful to do those and really honor all these people that did so much work out there for all of us.
Joan, you know, I'm like going, okay, I'm so stoked I could talk to you for hours because there's so much people want to know. And I think we have to do a part two to talk about your work and your plethora of work and even a piece on event planning and all those different things. As I think about it, you talking and I'm building series in my head. I'm thinking about the TNT Heritage group that we were part of and the
Yeah,
events
yeah.
that we did. Being at Queen's Park. What was that event called again in Trini
Or Trinidad and Tobago Consul General stuff.
yeah.
Wheating.
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 Ting, Wheating. When we did Wheating, we created our own Queen's Park Savannah in the Queen's
Yeah,
Park
yeah,
Savannah,
yeah.
you know. And I think that piece, this piece on your legacy of work, but I really wanted people to get to know you. So as we're getting to wind down the conversation, even though I don't want to wind down the conversation, and I'm grateful to all of you who've been on here. I understand that from Dr. Tyrone that there's some people asking if you would mentor them. He's had some people approach him for mentorship. So reach out to Joan Pierre.
No
And,
problem.
you know, over the time and the plethora of work that you've done, you haven't received many awards, which is always very shocking for me. You know, in 2012, you know, Planet Africa gave you the Phenomenal Woman Award. Um, Trinidad and Tobago gave you an acknowledgement as well. I remember the BBPA
Mhm.
celebrated you as a woman of honor. Though you have not received the Harry Jerome Award, anybody out there listening, she has not received the Harry Jerome Award. They just gave her a woman. Not that I don't appreciate that. I'm just calling it out. The African Canadian Achievement Awards. I mean, she was a producer, but Michael made sure he gave her an award. That was a surprise to Joan. That was funny. That
That
we
was a shock.
that was funny. Joan did not know that we were planning. Oh my God, that was so great planning with her. And being honored by Emily Mills as one of the women and in her story in Black,
Mhm.
as one of those women. And most recently, I am so pleased that you got the Lifetime Achievement Award. So as we wind down, how did it feel to receive the Lifetime, finally being, you know, receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award?
First it was a bit of a shock because I went like, am I that old? I still see myself as not that old to be getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, but I've done a lot of stuff, I guess. But two things. One, to get it from Afro Global Television, which is an African-based organization. It's really a big thing. So that alone made it very special. Um, I did not realize that when the they did the event, was virtual, of course, I got totally nervous. Don't I mean, like, I'm not in a room with people. I'm just home, Tony, whatever, and looking at it on a computer screen. And I went into nervousness. I was sweating while I did the whole thing. When I'm doing my acceptance speech, I'm just dripping. And I went like,
And
what
it was
is this?
pre-taped, Joan.
It
Pre-taped.
was a surprise. It was really, really a surprise, but I'm grateful, I'm honored, and I feel nice about it.
You know, one of the things I love too is when you were featured in the 50th anniversary book with Trinidad and Tobago. I was really like that.
Yeah.
Seeing you like in that book, just really, I think I cried that day seeing that in that. And then when 100 ABC Women, you named that in the 100 ABC Women honored you 2
Mhm.
years ago, and you were in that book as well. I hope to see a book. I put that at the end. I didn't put it. I hope to see a book from Joan Pierre, somewhere, you know, you like autobiographies. Maybe it's time for somebody to do a biography on Joan Pierre. In addition to the cookbook that you would write, right? Many people saying so well deserved, right? Cookbook, anybody for the cookbook? Maybe we do a cooking lesson. One of the great things Joan did the other day, I remember with one of our close friends, we did cooking classes online with the kids, and that was really nice.
Yeah,
and so as we really wind down, what, I know you love to read, you love so many things, you love movies stuff. Give us a couple, if you could recall, and I probably should have prepared you for the question, but I didn't. Favorite quote?
Favorite quote?
Yes, or saying. Or words to live by that you live by.
It's not an act, it's a habit.
Keep going. It's not, what does that mean? It's not an act, it's a habit.
Not an act, it's a habit. So you just, when you do things, it's part of you. When you do whatever you're doing, it is you. And it's not an act, it's a habit.
And what are 5 values that you think, if somebody is on this road to living a victorious life, what are 5 values, or maybe 3, that one should make sure that you have, and you make sure that your children, you develop in your children?
Honesty, integrity,
I know those are the 2 big ones for you, because honesty and integrity, that kind of like you're loyal to.
yeah. Honesty, integrity. I mean, those 2 are my driving force, actually. That you could literally live by.
Yeah, yeah. Because it builds your character, and it really speaks to the essence of who you are. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, looking back over your life of 76 years, what would you say to one particular part of your, I don't know what age you would pick, your younger self?
My younger self. I think it's when I turned 40. That's when I said to myself, I'm no longer going to encourage or have negative individuals in my life. If when I deal with you after, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a face-to-face, whether it's whatever, I'm always depressed after I leave you, then I just get rid of you.
Is that one of the things that keeps you young?
Maybe, because I don't like negative individuals around me at all, in no form or fashion. So I think it's when I turn 40, I start being that person and just start getting rid of anyone. And it could be a family member, I don't care. I just don't like negative energy. So if you're pulling me down every time I'm spending time with you and I feel depressed and there's nothing positive you could talk about when we chat, you always come with some negative something, or always putting people down, or I just wipe you out. I'm done.
Paula remembers at your 60th birthday, Tony said, if you're Joan's friend, she will get between you and the dog. Loyalty. Michael Toussaint says, Joan is a perfectionist and always on point. Gloria said, and no stress and loyalty, and you're looking well. And Noreen said, your cookbook for sure. We're looking forward to your cookbook. And Joan, we know you're not going to retire. You have said it to many of us.
No retirement.
You're still doing commercials. For those of you who don't know, look out for commercials. Joan will be in commercials. Commercials here, they end in the US. That's another side of Joan. And so Joan, you know, I like a pastor right now. This is my sixth close.
Mm.
What's next for you?
Ah, what's next for me? Well, I'm branching into maybe going into full-time work in January, which I did not expect to be doing, but an opportunity came up and now that I have accepted. I'm not going to talk too much about it at this point, but come January, I'm going into full-time work, something I totally enjoy doing as a
Awesome.
creative director.
Awesome. I am looking forward to it. More people are looking forward to it. And if anybody wants to say, reach out to you for advice, mentorship, but more importantly, hire you because you are still, Joan is not retiring, though she might be only be able to take small projects. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Just email me.
Okay.
Just
Email
give them my email address.
at so DM me if you're really serious. Send me a direct message,
Mm.
and we will share with you Joan's contacts, and you can always reach
Yep.
me. I am so grateful, Joan Pierre, for having you. You're a trailblazer, and on this series, I'm looking forward to having more people like you on here, and I'm going to give you just about the last word as we close. Is there anything else you would like to say before I do the closing out?
Where we are right now with this COVID-19, people really, really have to obey what the doctors and the science are telling us. It's serious. Do not ignore it. Educate your kids, every member of your family to know how to protect themselves. I don't wish to hear another friend or family member or friend died from COVID. I went through it. I lost one family member in the States, and it was devastating because we could not go to my niece to help her with the passing of her husband, and he was only in his 40s. So it's not nice. So I would just say to everyone, please take care, wear your mask, stay safe, wash your hands, and protect your family. Forget to get together. We all missing each other. We all want to be together. Forget to get together. This Christmas, just have who is in your bubble. Do not let anybody else come into your house. Stay in your bubble, get on the phone, get on the computer, do FaceTime with people. Do not gather in no groups whatsoever. I have one sister here, and we just stay in our own bubble and we talk on the phone or talk on the computer if we want to just look at each other or whatever. Just stay safe. It's important for us to get through this thing because it's not going that quickly. It's here, it's dangerous, and we just have to protect ourselves until maybe the vaccine will help. I don't know. I'm not jumping on it right away at all, but if it start working and we see it could work and it could help, then we could get get the vaccine. But for now, just protect yourself.
Everyone, I thank you for tuning in. Andrea Jobati says, Jack of all trade, never cease to amaze us. She is just an amazing woman. You're getting loves and congratulations, Joan. Thank you for being on here. And I hope you guys can see why it is so important for us to have intentional conversations, to have inspiring conversations with the people that we love, we admire. We don't need to be telling them, oh, we love you and we admire you, and they're not here with us, they're in a coffin somewhere. No, let us tell them, no matter what their ages are, that we love and appreciate them. I want to give you this quote. You know, even in this time, I say to you, trust the process, make peace in the process. Humility is everything. Be teachable. And as Joan said, in this time of where it's COVID, and in the US, if you're watching from the US and you're celebrating Thanksgiving and you happen to be watching it today, you know, we can be creative, find the opportunities in the crisis. You know, there's so much we can learn from each other. Share a recipe with your loved ones. Christmas is coming up. You know, share your favorite recipe. Everybody has a recipe in the family. Share that recipe throughout the family. You know, Joan has her different recipes. You know, some love Joan cornbread. Some, you know, I know my family loves my callaloo. They say I'm the queen of the callaloo here. You know, some people have your pepper sauce. What you could send for them. Support Black businesses. Support local businesses. They are feeling the crunch right now. Remember, you can even have a conversation with a smile. Just smile, even though your mask is on. You can still see me smiling. So I really want to thank you everyone for joining in. My name is Nicole Waldron, Victory Speaks. You can find this conversation will live here on Facebook at Victory Speaks 77. It will be also on YouTube at Victory Speaks 7. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Twitter, Victory Speaks 7, Victory Speaks with an S, 7. Thank you all for tuning in. I love and appreciate you all. We had a great time here with you tonight, and hopefully we can get Joan Pierre back on and maybe get some of the icons back on. And we are going to dance out of here with a little bit of calabash because we love calabash. Pick up your CD, K-A-L-A-B-A-S-H. Support local musicians. If you're in Toronto, you know, you can still hire them to do virtual events. You have Keisha Wint, you have Karen Jewels, you have people, you have pianists, you have saxophonists, I am telling you people, when you listen to the icon like Joan, who has given and given and given, it's time for us to give to each other, find creative ways to give to each other, especially in this season. Thank you for all your love. Paula Joseph, I love you, I love you, I love you. And you have been a blessing to me as you continue to be to others. Gloria, we know you spent some time with us. Peace, love, and here we go. We're gonna end with a little bit of calabash. Time to get the music going in your life. Time to buy the CD and support a local musician.